Hey guys, how's it going? Edgy here. We have a market pulse update for May 19th, 2025. A few things before we begin. So, number one is uh, we usually do slides, right? We usually do slides, and I've always prided myself on doing things at a very high quality level. But the problem is, slides and polishing, multiple people working on it, it adds a lot to the production time, and you guys want more speed. So yeah, we're gonna experiment with this. No slides. I know there's some AI tools out there, but I think the simplest way with no friction is Google Docs. So for me, as the guy in charge, it's always tough to find the right balance, just because with this platform, the whole thesis of my platform was just really making things as high quality and high research as possible. But I am listening to your feedback, and let's just experiment and see what happens. Okay, so yeah, hope you guys don't mind the Google slide format. Next is we added in a new chat called Trader Talk or Trade Talk in TD Pro. You guys can find it here. So before, this was the macro channel. We had some feedback. You guys want a macro channel, but there hasn't been any activity in the past month, to be quite frank. So someone suggested a trade talk where you share some trades, some of your thesis. So yeah, we rebranded the chat to Trade Talk, and let's just see what happens. So that's what I think about TDE Pro. We listen to some stuff, we experiment, and then if it doesn't work out, we get rid of it. Any cool ideas, we'll try it out. So yeah, this platform's only a few months old, and it's evolving and hopefully improving. Okay, so let's start. What's going on with the markets? So the markets are very chaotic. Guys, this is the Bitcoin price over the past 24 hours. So it was 103,000, and then it went up to 105,000, and then it dropped down to 104,000, and then went up to 106,000. All this within 24 hours. So things are just extremely chaotic. So if you're trying to trade, on a very short-term basis, it can drive a person crazy. So one thing I'm noticing is I always try to zoom out, right? Like I said, if you look too close, it can drive you crazy. So if I zoom out, I see the trend here that Bitcoin's going up. There's a lot of institutional flow coming in. So this is a chart from DeFi Llama. You go to ETFs, and you guys can see. I look at it from a monthly basis. This explains the really choppy conditions, and then it's only May 19th, so the trend is going up, right? So yeah, you guys can see the charts here. So there's really two ways to approach this. I do feel that the markets are just trending up, right? So I do feel comfortable deploying capital. So there's really two ways to approach this. The first one is play it super safe. Okay, that would mean you buy Bitcoin, you buy some high market cap tokens in relevant narratives. So this could be Pindo, Tau, Virtuals, Hyperliquid, and you just chill. You just chill until the price action gets stupid. Because we're in a situation right now, the reason why everyone's just going crazy is Bitcoin and Ethereum are doing pretty well, but the rest of the market, it's not doing so well. And I think a big reason for this, in the case of Bitcoin, a lot of the price driven this cycle is through institutions. In the past, what would happen in previous cycle is money comes into BTC, money comes into ETF, and then it naturally flows down to large market caps, and then it flows down to shitcoins. And I think that structure is very different now, because what's happening is institutions go into Bitcoin, institutions go into Ethereum, and the thing is there's just not as much retail traders. If you guys think about the past cycles, we had stuff like NFTs, we had some other things where your random cousin and everyone was talking about crypto. But now everyone's really confused because, hey, we're close to breaking all-time highs, but the sentiment is not that great. So that's because institutions and stuff are buying it up, driving up the prices, but we're not exactly seeing this action flowing back to the altcoins. So yeah, that's approach number one is just, you know, play it really safe. And then when the price action gets stupid, if retail users come back in massive droves, then you really deploy into altcoins. Second approach is yeah, try to play these choppy conditions. You can position yourself into some higher risk tokens and think, hey, if things do get a little bit crazy, then what are the likely tokens that people are going to buy? So I do think the first approach is better because things could get a little bit choppy in the summer. But for me, I do have some exposure to higher risk altcoins just because I want a little action, right? I want a little action. You know, they're not too big of a portion of my portfolio. Okay, let's look at the markets. Anything else interesting? So I always like to go to Dexu just to get a pulse of the narratives and the price action viewed from a different perspective. So if we look at, let's look at 7 days, right? So ICM has taken a lot of, you know, liquidity and attention. You look at past 24 hours. Oh, so guess what? These are some of my favorite metas: AI agent, Def AI, and ICM. So let's take a look at ICM. So Fitcoin, Noodle, Launchcoin. So I am in Launchcoin and Fitcoin. Let's see. So yeah, I think some good areas to focus on right now is the virtuals ecosystem, Tau and Tau subnets, and ICM. So some moves. So in the last market pulse, I did enter Basis OS and Gloria, but I had to cut my losses. So here is Basis OS. I don't know exactly when I entered. I probably entered around here, roughly at the peak. And then it just kept dipping. So, you know, I have a rule that I cut around minus 25%, minus 30%. You know, I just remember reading Market Wizards, right? Cut your losses, cut your losses, cut your losses. So by cutting my losses, I prevented a further dip. So that's the thing with these high-risk tokens. You know, the way I think about them is I'm trying to minimize my downside while capturing as much upside as possible. So my strategy for these kind of coins is, okay, if it, you know, goes down by like minus 25% or minus 30%, then I just cut them. I have to stick to the system no matter what. But guess what? If it does well and there's momentum, then I will add to the it, right? I look at volume, I look at momentum. And in the case of Basis and Gloria, I think when I entered, they had a lot of momentum. And then the ICM narrative just kind of, I mean, look, no one knows exactly why the tokens dip, right? But my theory on this is, you know, like a few days later, ICM came, and that took all the attention and liquidity away. Because they kind of operate in the same area of high-risk tokens, right? So yeah, I think that's what happened. Look, it could go up, but you have to stick to your systems. So someone asked me a question about re-entering, so this was my response. So the price dropped. The first thing I asked myself is, did something happen, or is it the market? In this case, I believe there's two major things. The market is really bad, and every higher risk token is selling off at the moment. Second, when I entered Basis OS, it was a high risk play. So what has changed? So internet capital markets and all their tokens are sucking liquidity and tension away. So let's just say if I were entering Basis OS, so I would give the markets a few days to bottom out or to breathe, and then reevaluate how this token again compares to other options out there. Hope this gives you some color. So it has been a few days. You know, it did bottom out around here. So if you want, you know, you could enter Basis OS. But for me, I asked myself, well, what has changed? So I think about two things. I think number one is, well, things are different because now ICM is here, whereas it wasn't before. The second thing I think about is what other AI agents have come out and are they taking attention? Because right now it's extremely PvP, right? It's extremely PvP right now. So yeah, I don't look. I don't think I'm gonna re-enter these. They could go up, right? They could go up, but I'm the kind of guy where, in this case, I stuck to my system. I log everything down. I write down my thoughts. If it goes up, I've made my peace with it, right? I'm not gonna chase after it. Launchcoin and Fitcoin. So I did buy Launchcoin a few days ago. Let's see. Let's look at Launchcoin. So yeah, for me, I like what I call the narrative barbell approach. So I like to get exposure to the narrative with the main play, right? So for example, Tau, virtuals, or Launchcoin. So I got Launchcoin. I think I'm up 50% on Launchcoin. And then for the beta play, there were quite a few that I was looking at. We shared with it in our token digest. So I looked at Dupe, I looked at Fitcoin, looked at Buddy, right? There's quite a few. So so I've been looking for my beta play. Okay. So number one, a few things. I don't like meme coins. So some of the highest market cap are meme coins like Startup, Goon. I don't know what Theranos is. Is that a meme coin based on Elizabeth Holmes' fake blood testing company? So yeah, I don't like meme coins. For me, the ones that kind of fit my checklist was Fitcoin, what I look for in a token. So let's say, okay, so here's my thesis. Simple thesis. So I posted this in the trade talk. So number one is the founder is doxed. Number two, the product exists. It's live. Next is it's a useful product, right? I think the idea of it is very useful. So here's what Ansem had to say. I actually do think there's a good idea. I pitched the same concept to my friends a few months ago to make it, but I didn't know Fitted existed already. A lot of people would use an AI power assistant for designing and searching for other people's clothes, and it's unlikely to rug like other crypto low cap teams. So something about the useful product, with this narrative, guys, I still view them as meme coins. So I want to get this straight. I still view it like a meme coin. But because it's a working product with a docs founder and the idea of potential revenue, it sells the story. Remember, I always ask myself, why would someone buy after this? And, compared to meme coins have a bottom, right? Because they're just ideas. Whereas this guy and the team, they're still developing it. Okay, so two things gave me the push to invest in this. The first one is they reviewed their tokenomics. So you guys can see here, a lot of these tokens don't actually have tokenomics or any promises. So for me, the fact that it has tokenomics or a idea of a roadmap for the future kind of gave me a push in comparison to other options out there. So let's see what they're doing. Okay, so there's some usage. Guys, it's not the best usage, right? It's not the best utility. But at least there's something there. So here, there's some basic tokenomics. 5% of purchase is burned, reducing total supply. Buybacks. Yeah, they're entertaining ideas, but they don't have buybacks yet. But I do think that if they were to do buybacks, then that would be very bullish for the price. I did like this here. So 0.5% of the buy goes to a fitted team because they want to hire world-class talent, do offsites, growth marketing, all to drive adoption and scale the ecosystem. I'm not in love with this. I'm not in love with this because it's like, wait, you're going to use some of the funds to do like offsite meetings. Like if you run a company before, then you know it's just kind of like not the best use of money and not the smartest. But I do like where their head is, that they are trying to, drive adoption and scale the system. So look, the tokenomics are not amazing. It's just more, to me, it's more like, okay, this is a meme coin with a working product and some tokenomics that shows that they're trying. So it's kind of like, hey, at least they're better than other people, the other options out there. Next is, I really love tokens in this $5 to $30 million price range. Ansem is shilling, so I think Ansem is very polarizing, very controversial, but he does have a lot of influence and pull in the space, right? So yeah, those two things happened. That kind of gave me the push to choose this over the other options out there. Keep in mind, it's very, very high risk, right? Because it's only 8 million market cap token. So yeah, there's still a very high risk narrative. Other interesting tokens I'm looking at. So one is ARC. So with ARC, I think we've seen the price action of virtuals and some other frameworks, and AI rig was kind of huge, kind of huge several months ago, and they haven't had that kind of price action yet compared to some of the other frameworks. So I think that's one thing. I think the second one is they do have a relatively large catalyst coming up that's going to launch any day now. So you guys can see the Rhizome beta is going to launch any second, where they're looking to be the agentic app store of ARC complex. So my theory of this is, number one, price action does look pretty good to me. It does feel like it's bottomed out, and I do feel people have not priced in this catalyst, and this should launch anytime soon, judging by what the founder has said. I'm not sure if I'm going to bid on this. I don't think I'm going to buy this, but it is on my radar. It is on my radar. I am watching out for this. As far as why I don't buy it, I think a big reason is it's just all the attention right now is on virtuals. Like, all the attention right now is on virtuals, and I did look at the ARC mindshare. The sentiment is not too good, but yeah, if this does pretty well, I wouldn't be surprised. All right, another token I'm watching is Arbis. So it just launched a few hours ago. It graduated from the Virtuals Genesis platform. So it is AI X InfoFi. So the team has been building for 2 years, and I guess my thesis for it is it's the beta play to Kaido. InfoFi is getting a lot of traction, and most people just kind of think of InfoFi as simply Kaido, right? So a few hours ago, it broke a record on Virtuals Genesis. So fastest to hit 100%, all-time high, 7,500 participants, oversubscribed by 1,800%. So this kind of reminds me, what it could do is like Basis, Basis and some other Genesis platforms where, number one, it launched, and then the prices just kept going up for a while after it launched. And I think, 7,500 participants, you're going to have a lot of people incentivized to pump it. I like the idea of the product. Okay, so the idea of the product is building a platform similar to Kaido. So you have the mind share, you have a lot of data, but they're allowing AI agents to plug into this data. Okay, so I found a great thread or a great post that kind of outlines the thesis behind it. So let's see some key points. So number one is Arbis Arbis team has been building for 2 years before Kaido was a thing. Number two is, this is somewhat backed by the Virtuals team, because they deployed 70,000 to buy the token from virtuals. Let's see. Oh yeah, next is 100% community driven. So yeah, there's no VCs to dump on you. Next is it ties directly into Virtual's ACP, so agents can use this. So yeah, I think right now it's trading around 9 million last time I checked. So this could potentially become a $30 million market cap. So yeah, I'm paying a lot of attention to the Genesis launches, and this one really stands out to me. Anything else? Something else that was interesting is I'm revisiting token research, and in a token radar, we talked about Kita Network. So we published this report March 31st, and our thesis for it was, this is a decentralized layer 1 for RWA, right? And one thing I was really bullish on is at the time, March 31st, if you look at the price of Mantra, so Mantra went absolutely insane price-wise until, I forgot exactly what happened until the rug, and now it's worth nothing. But at that time, the thesis was, okay, an L1 for RWA, Mantra already did it, and Kita looks to be much better. The team's fully doxed. And I also liked how, Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, was involved. So yeah, really interesting. But price action back then, March 31st, was around 13 cents. And now it is 68 cents. So close to, what, 400%? Yeah, 400 something percent ROI. So if you guys got involved with it, congratulations. With Token Radar, guys, these are high-risk tokens, right? These are high-risk tokens under 75 million gems. So looking back at a few, I think Banker price action is roughly break even. So since we published, broke even. Nillion is up by 30-ish%, I think. Basis OS, so this was only 10 days ago, it is down by like 30%, but this one is up by 400%. So my point is that's the nature of high-risk tokens, right? They're all probability bets where, if it doesn't do well price action wise, you cut it. But when it does well, then you put more money into it. So it definitely pays off for whatever losers you have. So unfortunately, I never got access to Kita, even though I did obviously researched it, knew about it. I think my decision at that time was I didn't want to spread myself out too thin. So I felt the biggest narrative is AI agents, and I still feel that way now. So I want to focus on AI and Def AI and DeFi, and RWA was just out my scope, and I just didn't want to spread myself out too thin. So obviously, I wish I invested in it because 400% ROI in a large market cap token now is very good, very safe. But if you guys invested in it, congratulations. Okay. Other notes, simple rule, own more Bitcoin every quarter. So when I was in my 20s, I heard a piece of financial advice that really resonated with me. It said, every single quarter, if you want to be wealthy, every single quarter, just own more index funds than you did the previous quarter. So just keep buying index funds. So I did this in my 20s. For context, I'm in my late 30s, right? So I've been buying index funds for almost 2 decades. And that was really good advice, where every single month I have it on DCA to buy index funds. And he said, buy it no matter how painful it is. And something I regret is I didn't directly apply this mentality to Bitcoin. So right now I do have some DCA to buy Bitcoin every month. So yeah, so that's just one little framework I have. Just as long as you own more Bitcoin than you did before, then you're gonna win in the long run. So this is kind of my thesis on what I'm doing, where I trade altcoins. If I can get some profits, then I will rotate the profits into Bitcoin, and I'm just gonna hold on to this Bitcoin forever. Well, not forever, but until I need to cash it to fiat. Let's see, anything else? So yeah, other thoughts. Yeah, right now conditions are really choppy. I do think that it's plus EV to deploy some capital now, because we are close to breaking all-time highs. If we can break all-time highs, then that's going to get the attention of a lot of people, and retail can start coming back. But right now, yeah, I based on just anecdotal evidence, talking to people, retail is just not interested right now. But who knows? 110,000 Bitcoin. The way the market conditions could be, we could hit 110,000 next week or this week. Right? Things are so crazy and volatile right now. But like I said, the other one is just you can just buy the market leaders and save yourself this all these emotions, right? Bitcoin, Pindo, Hyperliquid, Virtual, some of these sweet spot tokens. Okay, hope you guys enjoy this market pulse.